Here we go, guys. Let's see who is number one today. It was Robbie, followed by K-Heads, and we had Dan next. Greetings over in Arizona. Truth Co-op Diana, good to see you. And Diana, I see, was making some jewelry and had a customer in Robbie. That's the way to build that community.
Indeed. And we have Anthony. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good. It's nice to see everybody's rolling in.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Anthony as well. Yeah, new moon in the fire, Sword Critica. Yeah, Israel's in the house. Great to see you. Scott, good to see you as always. Regina, always a blessing. Ron Simpson, wonderful to see you as well. Mary Luck, hello. Oneness, over in San Fran. We love you, Oneness, running the gauntlet. Sending out those positive vibes, 23K red. Over in DC, Mark Steven from Nepal saying hi. Shelly Thugens, great to see you as well. I mean, some of your names we know for like 9 years, you guys. Annie, it's just great. Such a blessing to see everybody.
It's totally awesome. Totally awesome to see everybody rolling in. So we have some things that we're working on together that's been on our hearts, and it's not leaving my heart. So I just want to keep pushing, keep the energy out there, because I think we are making some progress, and the only way to do that is to keep doing this.
Absolutely. Okay, Norman, good to see you as well over in New Mexico, one of our favorite states. New Mexico is a state of mind, I would say.
Mexico is awesome. New Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, Emperor Rex, good to see you as well. There's a lot going on, guys. A lot going on. If you haven't checked out evolutionaryenergyarts.com, please do. You can see just a small sampling of some of the testimonials of people that we've worked with over the years. We've worked with thousands of people from everywhere, pretty much. I like to say everywhere but Antarctica. We've worked on people from New Zealand and Australia, from Singapore and Africa. In fact, Africa was one of my first real challenges. It was a young man that was really, really very ill, and a friend of a friend knew this young man was very ill, and they were worried about him making through the night. And we did distance work. He was kind of fading in and out from bad case of malaria. But he got better, and he just said he viewed it as God's will, and we were the channel of that will, per se, in that case. Again, we can do so much more than what most people have been taught. So, again, to learn more about who we are, please do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com. And we did a Patreon and member video. It was remote viewing that Cindy had me do this morning. It was very interesting, especially it's just so fun to not have a clue on what the topic or the subject is, and just clear your mind, let impressions come in, and then look at it. I mean, it's mind-blowing. It speaks volumes about our reality. Believe me, anybody can do remote viewing. It just does depend on your ability to clear your mind. If you meditate on a regular basis, you'll be golden. You'll have no problem.
So thank you so much, Oneness. We definitely appreciate that support in all ways. Unicorn Purple had a very real dream, nightmare of a massive dark electric storm with lightning and tornadoes crossing over the sun. I woke up at 1:11, and that was that. Wow. With the way you are, that's definitely something we're gonna, keep in mind. That's pretty wild dream. Running the gauntlet. Thank you, Mike and Cindy. Some motorbike gas money. Well, thank you. That is very, very much appreciated these days. Oh my gosh, you guys are wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Um, Robbie was asking, curious how you come up with the number. So I haven't done it to Cindy. It's all been Cindy getting me to utilize my abilities more because Cindy's such an amazing channel. So I don't know. How do you pick the number?
I listen for them. That's it.
Oh, okay. So the number picks you.
I guess, yeah. Yeah. Is there another way?
That is pretty wild. Yeah. Again, we recognize that we come into this with amnesia on purpose to again give us a fully immersive experience. And thank you so much, running the gauntlet. At the end of the day, when I'm tired and sweaty or what have you, and I still I got such an itch to jump on the bike because it just brings me so much peace. And I went about 15 years without riding, I want to say. Maybe close to 15 years. Yeah, I missed it. So I absolutely love it. And, picked up basically the cheapest new bike you could pick up pretty much. That's a Honda. Because I've had Hondas before and they're so reliable and, definitely have trust in them. So I enjoy it. And at some point in time, we hope to be able to afford to get an ATV to do some of the heavy work around the homestead, as we are working hard on turning it into a homestead. And it would be definitely handy to have like an ATV to aid in the job because right now it's just my back.
Mm-hmm. I know, and Exile is talking about numbers, being relative. I believe numbers are definitely messages from our angels for sure. Even if time is relative, what exactly makes you wake up at exactly 1:11? What exactly makes you turn your head to look at a clock when it's 3:33? It's the numbers. It's the fact that the numbers are in alignment when you looked in that moment. So, I mean, I find them to be very, very, very important and very useful in my life. And yeah, I do. Just because of all the coincidences, like how many coincidences do you have to have for something to, be true? So many coincidences with numbers. I can't just shrug it off.
Yeah, and Kay says Jemez Springs is beautiful. I love the hot springs. Yeah, I've actually been there too, which is wild. It's interesting. Like with Soul Family, we were speaking about this and saying like how when Soul Family is intertwined, you'll find little coincidences, like Jemez Springs.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved Jemez Springs. It was like one of my favorite spots to camp, and I actually had an encounter with something large that I think was either a bear or a Bigfoot. Whatever it was large, and it was right next to the tent. And man, I'll never forget that. But yeah, absolutely gorgeous area. Really love that area.
Beautiful, beautiful New Mexico. I miss it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Reliability with Hondas. And then the numbers, Robbie, 333, Diana, 111 and 1111, 222. These things, they're very, very purposeful. I really think it's like synchronicity alert. When you look at something and you notice that master number sticking out at you, the angel number, it's like synchronicity alert. Pay attention to what you were just thinking is significant.
Indeed.
And that's the way reality is. Reality is pretty wild indeed. Schumann resonance. You can see we had a little white out over here, calming down a little bit. The consciousness of the planet, no matter what they're doing, it's still accelerating, and we are on the ascension path. As a beautiful cardinal looks in at us and is reminding me to go ahead and put more bird food out.
So, looking at this color thing on the side of the Schumann pattern. You see the red and the green and the yellow, and those being chakra colors. I did see someone aligning the Schumann map with the different chakras, and if we were to do that, it's upside down.
Yeah.
But at the same time, say it's not upside down, this would mean that a lot of energy going through the root chakra, but it's upside down. So I'm not exactly sure how to read that. But before I saw that color thing, I was looking at this, I was feeling the root chakra. So in my case, in this instance, I need to listen to my feelings. So yes, I do think the root chakra is definitely being affected with the Schumann spike.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when we think about it, reality, in my mind, it's basically constructed by the density higher than the reality that you're experiencing. So, it's like it's a layered experience. It is a top-down construct. But, of course, with the dark control matrix, everything is bottom-up, so to speak. It's just the inversion of the way things should be. But everything is righting itself at this point in time. And we're going to get to that one. It just is going to take a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time, as the dark control system, the dark matrix, has been in power for thousands of years. Exactly how long, I don't know. But if you go by looking at the traditional way of looking at the Vedas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the traditional Hindu point of view on it, a lot of scholars think that around 3100, 3102, 3104, that's the date given for Krishna no longer being here on Earth. And it's said that when Krishna was gone, then that's when the Kali Yuga started. So that would mean basically 5,000 years of darkness. And it's interesting, too, because at the root of Krishna is the same root with Christ, and many people recognize Krishna consciousness and Christ consciousness as being, again, talking about the same thing. It's about bringing more of the higher self down into this reality.
Right. I mean, there's just so many things out there that we don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, and I'm always telling Mike that.
Yeah, and then we're experiencing things and we're learning. So get this, guys. Asteroid 2026 JN4 impacts Earth. What? Yeah, actually hit us. Arafura C? I'm not really sure. I don't remember seeing the Arafura C previously, and I'm pretty good with maps. But that's basically between Australia and Papua New Guinea. So this small asteroid, designated 2026 JN4, entered Earth's atmosphere between Australia and Papua New Guinea 1344 UTC on May 15th. After the ESA's Meerkat and JPL's Scout systems identified a high Earth impact probability from a short observational arc. This is now the 12th predicted Earth impactor and the first since December 3rd, 2024. Meter-scale asteroids of this size and velocity usually disintegrate high in the atmosphere. There's an awful lot of prophecies of impacts coming in. Of course, we have wormwood in the Bible. We have other prophecies that talk about impacts. There are some notable ones that talk about 3 major impacts at the time of all the tribulation, basically where we are right now. So it's interesting to see this. I know if Mama Jan's there, she's very familiar with a lot of the prophecies, and also different Catholic prophecies and Marian visions about impacts coming at this point in time. And then, of course, we were talking about Werner von Braun on his deathbed saying the last 2 things are going to be asteroids impacting Earth and a fake alien invasion.
And, that's definitely something that has carried on through time and on and on and on. And people do remember that, but it's not that they didn't think that other beings existed. They definitely believed that there were other beings existed. I think that should have been highlighted as part of that deathbed confession, because they make it sound like, oh, there's no such thing as aliens when people talk about that story. So they definitely believed there were other beings. They just knew that the government was going to put their own things into place and call it aliens. And that's only half the story.
So this is really interesting to see this, as this object was placed at 0.005 lunar distances, about 1,270 miles from the center of our planet, which is inside the Earth's mean radius of 3,960 miles. It is one of 76 known asteroids recorded within one lunar distance of Earth in 2026. In years past, I used to always keep track of this, and it seemed like since 2017, we were getting over 100 asteroids that were within one lunar distance, the Earth from, the Earth-Moon distance, which is far less, obviously, than the sun. But here we are, we're not even halfway through the year, and we got 76 right now, so that's a big uptick.
It is a big, but whereabout did it hit?
In between Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, that's an active place, isn't it? It's almost like there's like a magnetic...
Between all the volcanoes and stuff. It could be. I wonder if it could be getting pulled in to a certain area. This is like Stefan Burns type of stuff. Get magnetically pulled into a certain area that's active geologically, maybe volcanically. And again, the magnetosphere, we understand it's in decline. We're in some sort of magnetic reversal. But, it's fascinating because more people now than ever, I think, are questioning everything about our reality, including many people questioning whether the Earth's round or flat, how big it really is, how many other land masses we don't know about. How big is Antarctica? Is Antarctica really what they say? Or is it even bigger than all the known land masses that we know about in reality? Because, again, it's off limits to everybody but the ruling L-ites.
There's stories, the stories that they tell us now with mass media and every way that information reads us. There's so many holes getting poked in the story of the elites. I mean, you really have to just take a look at everything and anything and everything that is popular and look at that with a side eye. It's like, because why? Why is that thing popular? Why is that thing getting shoved down our throats? Why every time we turn on the TV are we being reminded of this thing? Why are certain channels so huge even though it looks like they're giving good content? It's like, why? Why so much control over the media? And you just have to continue to ask the question, and the more you ask the question, the more you start to say why. And looking at this world the way it is, I believe there are absolutely there's lands that we are 100% unaware of, and there's a lot of land too. It's not just like a little bit, a few hundred acres. No, I believe that there's a lot to be unexplored, and when it's time, I feel we are going to have access here to it on the 3D. But we have to do our due diligence and stand together as people and keep doing what we're doing today, and it, little by little, bit by bit, it makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fascinating time. You couldn't have any more fascinating time to be here. It can be, absolutely challenging, especially as you go up in frequency. It just gets harder to tolerate certain things about the way the global system is. So, yeah, this is interesting. Just realize, too, that we've had a lot of asteroid activity. We just had this one, too. This is just from yesterday. Asteroid 2026 JV3 passed Earth at 0.13. That's a really close call. That was the sixth closest known asteroid flyby. We definitely are in some sort of high occupancy zone when it comes to these objects. Do you see this as just a rock? If you can look into it, I mean, what are you sensing?
No, I think everything that is coming into our sphere right now is because of our frequency change, and I know a lot of people are saying, some people believe that Three Eye Atlas was just a nothing burger, and I've looked at it as a frequency change from the very, very beginning. That's the information that I got, that Three Eye Atlas was changing our frequency, and I think the frequency change is pulling in some of this, what they can call it debris, but I think it's more of a calling, a calling of different types of angels that are being delivered in different ways. So we only know what we know here on the 3D. You really have to drop what you think you know as far as science and data, and then open the mind beyond that to see even more. And so many more people are doing that. They're looking at the science and they're saying, something's not right with this, because the science just follows the money, and we've learned that, and we've seen that over and over again. And it also keeps our minds closed. They've done tests with children who go to school and children who don't go to school. The children who go to school, their IQ drops like every year. They start out geniuses, and then with every year that passes, their IQ levels drop the more they learn. So I think we've had our channeling abilities just educated out of us. Otherwise, we can all open our minds to these different possibilities if we were not taught from such a young age that it was all wrong.
Yeah, I saw a question there about Apophis. 99942 Apophis is a near-Earth asteroid, they say, approximately 1,230 feet in diameter, that will make a historically close approach to Earth on April 13th, which I believe is a Friday the 13th, 2029. So, that's less than 3 years now. Do you know that? I mean, that's less than 3 years. 2 years and 11 months. Wow. And I think the world's going to be so different by the time we get to that point. It's going to pass within 20,000 miles. That's really close. Of the Earth's surface. Now, the one that impacted us, they say, was just literally less than 6 feet. This is substantial, 1,230 feet, and that, they might not even be correct with that, of course. So coming 20,000 miles, within 20,000 miles of the Earth's surface, that's basically, you got to treat that like an impact, Discovered in 2004, initial concerns about potential collision in 2029, 2036, or 2068 have been definitively ruled out by subsequent radar observations. So they say, astronomers now confirm there's no danger of impact for at least the next 100 years. The flyby represents the closest approach of an asteroid this size that humans have known about in advance, offering a unique opportunity for scientific study. Now, the reality is, again, why did they call it Apophis? Because Apophis is the destroyer, right? And in fact, there's Golden Dawn rituals that in which you invoke Apophis. You literally invoke the destroyer. It's like the Omega. When you're talking Alpha and Omega, it's the end as opposed to the beginning. But the reality is, too, we get that it's a ship. We both feel very strongly it is a ship. We also don't feel that these are really nice beings on it. We felt that the beings on Third Eye Atlas were much more agreeable than the beings on Apophis.
Yeah, I don't like the beings that are on Apophis, in Apophis, around Apophis, that have anything to do with the Apophis frequency. It does not feel good. And I don't know who wrote this. It says it's AI generated Is this AI generated? So this is your here you guys. This is your popular answer. And the popular answer says, there's nothing to fear for the next 100 years. We promise. How many times has science been rewritten, and now we're not even getting it written from a person? It's just AI is throwing what it wants to out there. And speaking of AI and the data centers, okay, so let's say AI is putting up, and it's putting up a lot of YouTube channels, and it's taking creator information, copying, pasting it, and then somebody slaps a voice on it, and then the voice reads the AI, and these AI generated YouTube channels are making big money. They're getting big views because they want to take over the narrative. And I was just talking with a friend the other day, and we were kind of saying how we were going through our YouTube channels, and I'm clicking off anything that I don't know for sure is a human, because I want human. I love humans. Humans are messy. Humans make mistakes. Humans have errors. And to me, that's the diamond in the rough. That's what makes them so beautiful. And even though we are messy creatures, we advance, and we advance in a very divine way. And it's because of all those little so-called mistakes. Those mistakes are what advances us. AI just wants efficiency. That's really all it cares about. And there will be a time and point, since everything is getting automated, when something won't be efficient enough, and there will not be a good answer. And it's going to throw a big wrench in the machine, and everything's going to come tumbling down. I've seen this through doing the Varshafala astrologies for over the 5-year period from 2025 to 2030. There is a big wrench getting thrown into this engine that we call. So, just being mindful of where we get our information. Sure, use AI, look at it, do all the things, but I think we just need to be careful to not really rely on it, and know that they are nudging us in the direction that they want us to be nudged.
Yeah, absolutely. So if this is a ship coming in, why is there a ship coming in at this particular time? Again, I do think you go back to Deuteronomy 32:8 in the Bible and Plato's Critias. The world that we know has been divided up by ultra-terrestrials, more advanced beings. They have some sort of claim to the different tribes on Earth, the different locations on Earth, and they're all just basically forwarding their own agendas, of which, some really do want to see humans brought up to speed with the real situation instead of the stories that they give us. Others want to keep us totally in the dark and just keep utilizing us as a resource. So, when you look at these, I think they're just coming to check up on what they view as their stake in the game, so to speak.
Yeah, they definitely want to keep their narrative going. That's the most important thing. But about these AI channels, their information doesn't have to be accurate. They don't have to have any follow-up with any information that they give. They can basically say whatever they want and just kind of put in there whatever they want, and then squeeze out the real human creators. And that's not the direction that I want to go.
No, and David Workman mentions wormwood. There feels energetically like there could be a connection between wormwood and Apophis to me.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it's that, is this going to be the thing that breaks away people's ability to use? I don't know. Is it going to be, something like a blessing in disguise? It might not look so good, but what if something comes through and wipes out all the parasitic data centers somehow? I don't know.
You look at this, they give us key details too. It will be visible to the naked eye from parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia during the flyby. Earth's gravity will alter Apophis's orbit, shifting it from the Aten group, Aten, to the Apollo group of asteroids. That's curious. Then you have NASA's OSIRIS Apex and the European Space Agency's Ramses missions scheduled to study the asteroid before and during its close approach, tidal forces from Earth may cause minor surface changes such as landslides, providing insights into asteroid structure. Well, if it's a ship, what are we going to find out?
What are we going to find out?
Yeah, it's really curious. Thanks for bringing that up. So, yeah, interesting times. Meanwhile, we have Trump and Xi having a meeting over in Beijing. And, one notable thing was that Xi wasn't there to greet him when he came off the plane. That's a little bit of a power play there. Trump is talking about the deals that they made together and trying to, trying to put a, what are you going to say, dress up a pig?
Yeah,
I guess something like that. Lipstick on a pig. Yeah, again, this is more for, political consumption. The changing of the guard, or is it, some sort of new trilateral grouping of power between the U.S., China, and Russia? They talked about Taiwan. They talked about all the usual stuff. I think most of us view all this as just nothing but drama for the masses.
I look at them and, my gosh, how big of steaks do they eat? These guys are big.
Yeah, they are certainly not feeling the effects of hunger. Massive crowds gather in London for anti-immigration march. Keir Starmer has blocked foreign speakers from entering the country ahead of the Unite the Kingdom rally, and they're labeling it hate speech when people are bringing up their concerns over the mass influx of people from other countries in. And just the fact that people are getting arrested for letting other people know that they don't like the politics that they're watching. So they're getting arrested for criticizing the leadership. Keir Starmer has been basically, he's under a lot of pressure to just resign because there's so much, let's just say, dislike for him and everything that he has done. But over in Italy, you see a dozen injured after a car rammed into just the public. The driver, described in the press as a man of North African descent, reportedly went on to stab somebody before being subdued by bystanders. This is exactly why people in the UK were again taking to the streets, because these type of events have happened time after time after time again. Dutch asylum center burns on the first day of new arrivals after weeks of protests. The unrest erupted on the day the first asylum seekers arrived at the center. The whole thing is, again, that wars in these faraway places sometimes nudge people out of their homes in faraway places, and sometimes politicians pave the way so those people could be your neighbors. After, your nation, which again, I think all these nations are beyond our control. Really, that's what we're discovering. Even the politicians are discovering that politicians could put laws into effect, but somehow they don't get upheld. Just like banning spraying and weather modification in like 20-something, 30 states, and yet it keeps happening. Because again, we go back to looking at President Trump and President Xi. They're actors. They're, the only thing they could do that would be damaging is saying something off script, like letting on to too much info. And people are like beyond fed up. They're at the breaking point. And lots of protests have been going on all around the world. And of course, the media downplays it because the media just simply is bought and paid for. We all know that. It's just so beyond obvious at this point.
I think people are fed up, but still not to the point of enough change. We need more pressure.
I see Neil is in the house and Christine Love's in the house. Great to see you guys. as always. So yeah, we Cortez in the house. We have a Cortez sighting as well. Yeah, when you look at it again, we have to push really hard because there's some agendas that are going to be massively impacting the planet. And if 2020 was any sort of wake-up call, we can't allow a bigger replay of that to happen. You have a 6.0 quake hits Antigua and Barbuda. It's a beautiful area, a gorgeous set of islands there. 6.0, it does happen. It's 30 kilometers deep. A little bit more rare on the Caribbean plate, but I've seen 7s and mid-7s over here as well at times. So when you look at it, that is the biggest one. That's the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. Caribbean plate itself is very, very small, as you can see here in the remnants of another plate here. Again, is plate tectonics exactly right? I don't think so, because what if the world's bigger than this? Then doesn't that throw everything off? Yeah, and why do they keep showing us Antarctica as just, I know it's the Mercator projection, right? But is it some sort of allowing us to see the truth without having it register?
Good thought.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. Again, there's been some swarms still ongoing but dying out. The one we had down in the Salton Sea area has pretty much dissipated. You still have a decent amount of quakes going on over here east of like Carson City and southeast of Reno. But overall, that 6.0 is the biggest one to make note of. There was a 6.7 if we look back here. Let's look at the largest magnitude, and that was in Japan. And that was also right off the coast where we've seen some larger ones to the northeast of Sendai here. We're still watching. It's only a matter of time, but earthquakes are apparently natural. At least some of them are.
At least, yeah, at least some. It's what they say.
And as I would always be apt to say, I don't know why we would have any drought anywhere at this point in time with all the weather control that's constantly underway.
I agree.
And we have exceptional drought returning to the Texas Panhandle and to western Oklahoma, first time since 2023. So, there's wildfires that will be brewing. The Latvia Prime Minister resigned over straying Ukrainian drones. This is Prime Minister Ivica Salina from the Unity Party. Had been Prime Minister since 2023 in September, but she resigned on May 14th after a key party in her coalition withdrew support in a row over Ukrainian drones that strayed into the Baltic nation. The drones were on an attack mission across the border into Russia from Ukraine, and Ukraine say they crashed into Latvian territory on May 7th after being electronically diverted by the Russian military. One caused a fire. Where? Oh, at an oil storage site, of course.
Imagine that. That's just another coincidence, I think.
Nothing but coincidences. Move right along. There's nothing to see here. Yeah. What did they achieve? I wouldn't say much, really. A couple big states, maybe some sushi.
Yeah, they probably achieved some award for eating half the buffet.
All you could eat buffets, they just, the sight of those two come in, it just causes abject terror in the owners of buffets, all you could eat buffets.
Yeah, I think so.
With good reason. Illinois man asks, why are there so many ticks this year? What the heck's going on? He says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but why are there so many ticks in Illinois? I've never seen anything like this. Yeah, it's just like magic, like they're dropping out of the sky, like there's some sort of dark evil Santa Claus that's riding around on, demonic reindeer spreading ticks everywhere.
We really had a big problem last year, and this year, it's like we had this really weird freeze. I don't know if that helped at all, but this year for us has not been as bad. But I definitely remember last year when we had them, they were just everywhere. You couldn't even walk outside without having them crawl on you. So I think they've been building up to this for a couple of years, and this is a big hoorah for them to just make it even worse and then throw out their advertisements for their, for their ouchies and get people really, really afraid. Luckily, not as many people are buying into it, but still enough that they're doing it.
Absolutely. So that was Illinois. By the way, over here, this says Bill Gates, Gil Bates. I like saying Gil Bates. It just sounds good. Engineered red meat apocalypse unleashed in Ohio. Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Library in Fremont, Ohio, just issued a public warning. The tick explosion is so severe that even historic grounds are now a bloodsucker minefield. It's not climate change. It's not Mother Nature. It's straight up biological sabotage aimed at your steak dinner. Bill Gates has dumped millions into tick research while preaching nonstop about slashing red meat consumption to save the planet. His network stands accused of funding scientists and bioethicists who openly cheer the spread of alpha-gal red meat allergies. Lone Star ticks are now blanketing the Midwest, triggering violent reactions to beef, pork, and lamb. What happens next? Big Pharma rushes out Lyme disease ouchies while he pushes his bug-based future, using bugs to push the future. Flood the heartland with weaponized ticks, trigger mass meat allergies, force everybody onto synthetic slop and endless ouchies. Profits for pharma, control for the elites. Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty obvious. When did you see these signs? Now they got the signs to warn you about ticks up everywhere. Well, maybe they should stop dropping them out of the sky. Maybe that might be a good idea, right? And this is, again, talking about this. And this is where? This is at the the Weefers. The Weefers. Listen to them from their own forums talk about this.
So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
I mean, that's in their own words. It's just right there. Let's listen to this Gil guy. And does he look like Woody Allen more and more every day? I wonder if they're coming from the same family stock in reality. He does look like Woody Allen, doesn't he? There's a tendency, too, to get blocks on videos and things that you do with this guy in it. Literally. I mean, I've done videos with some of his clips, and it's like can't be shown in half the countries of the world. I wonder why.
People are like, wow, this is a bit scary. It's completely new territory.
I mean, will we still need humans?
Not for most things. We'll decide.
We'll decide if we need humans. Yeah. Again, that sounds so reptilian when you think about it.
It does. And, it's not the first time that he's opened his mouth and spoke the truth.
Yeah. If we do a really good job, we're talking, it's like Ebenezer Scrooge with the surplus population. Here you go. Bombshell alert. Data center hell in Northern Virginia. Ashburn, Loudoun County is exploding with a jaw-dropping 20% massive spike in, that nasty C stuff. Leukemia, brain tumors going through the roof. One tiny hotspot turning into a deadly zone. Are your kids even safe anymore? Guess what changed? They crammed hundreds of power-guzzling data centers into the area. Virginia's got 650 to 685 of these monsters running right now. Ashburn's data center alley packed with AWS, Microsoft, Google giants sucking up every watt. Thanks to fiber power and fast permits. Coincidence? You decide. Yeah, again, what about the frequencies that they're putting off? Well, again, they told us, don't worry about holding your cell phone to your ear. It's not going to hurt you. And then later on we realize, you know what? That's not a good idea. That actually increases the likelihood of tumors. Everything from, non-stick cookware, which was not a good idea. Microwaves, horrible idea. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But you have to realize the system recommended full frontal lobotomies for depression. Full frontal lobotomies for depression. They put fluoride in our drinking water. Fluoride's a neurotoxin. The Nazis used fluoride to keep people docile in the camps for concentration. It's so obvious. It's spreading like wildfire. And in fact, here you go. This is a data center map. These are all locations of data centers. So you can see, you can't really see a spot of, the eastern half of the eastern part east of the Mississippi in the U.S. It looks like it's all one big data center. How about Europe? It's covered. In fact, they're all over the place. And are these just really all about spying on us and watching us? Is this really just simply about 1984 Orwellian type of surveillance, watching every move we make? If you look deep into it, you realize they could literally read thoughts. And in fact, many people have realized that their computers are reading their minds. Well, do you think it has anything to do with the fact of nanotechnology being in almost everybody's bodies at this time? Maybe there's some tribes in the Amazon rainforest that don't have nanotech in them. Maybe. Again, it's part of that big realization. But when you think about how frequency can affect our health, and Nanu is in the black goo, and then we see in black goo and the Alien series and Prometheus, and what happens when the black goo gets in your body? It turns you into something that you weren't before. It kind of messes with your DNA. Well, it seems like there's been a big drive to change human DNA right along.
For a long time, it's been a build-up, and I feel like we're just about at a crescendo, and it's time to really continue moving forward and stay together and, stamp as much of this out as we can.
Yes. So I saw, what Diana was talking about, detoxing. Detox daily as best as you can. Recognize that it's imperative because, again, everything has been so toxified. The water, the air, dropping little parachuting ticks. They don't need parachutes, by the way. Those things are so impervious. They're hard to squish because their shells are they're like tanks. They're like tiny little tanks.
They are. Their shells are pretty hard.
Yeah, so they could drop from high altitudes. They're just fine, and they're still going to look for a host. This is all parasites. Cancer is a parasite. Politicians is a parasite. The legal system is a parasite. It's all based on parasites, which tells you what the control system is. And these frequencies, I have to feel that these frequencies are going to lower immune system ability. That's one of the things, because we need to boost our immune system. Detoxing as much as possible, exercise, mind-body breath practice, we are going to be getting stronger. It's the Bronze Age. We're in a new age now. We should be living much longer and healthier. There was one of the CEOs talking about embrace AI in your life because of life extension possibilities. Well, and I saw right under that Twitter post, a whole bunch of people were saying, stop poisoning the air, stop toxifying the food and the water, and life will extend itself naturally. And that's so true.
It seems like it would be so simple. If they were using AI for those things, that would be one thing. But, it's like they're putting AI in under the guise of, we're going to do all these wonderful things, but I'm just not seeing the wonderful things. I'm only seeing the power-hungry egomaniacs that want their name on a list of some kind of heroic efforts that, killed our planet.
So you can see there are still places that don't have data centers, but they are getting rarer and rarer. Again, the guides kind of gave us that it's best to stay away from big cities, and this is just one of the reasons why, because they are more toxic than other places. Like if we look at the south, you can see Atlanta's covered. Atlanta is just covered in them. But big chunks of northern Mississippi are fine. Southern Arkansas, big chunks of nothingness there. Where the population centers are, that's where the data centers are. So again, that's where the toxic overload is going to be the highest.
Yeah, it's just so very unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, farmers growing desperate amid rising energy and fertilizer prices. Yeah, it's just because, again, they want us eating the slop. We know that. What's that going to do? It's not going to give us it's not going to give us the life force. There won't be any life force in it. And that's something that people don't seem to understand yet. More people are waking up to realize we are bioelectromagnetic beings. And the potential to hold electric charge is a big part of what we are taking in from food.
I know it. It's always been taught to us from a very young age that we have these chemical interactions in our body, that it's all chemical, but it's all electric.
It is. It is both. But realize, again, why eat live food? Because some people realize that live food is very advantageous. Well, when you eat, say, fruits and vegetables, you're taking in a lot of water. And then also we know, be properly hydrated because it does help the cells on a cellular level clean out toxins. But also it helps your conductivity.
We need to raise our voltage, and eating foods that are going to help with our voltage is critical. And water, that's why I'm always saying water. Every time we do bring someone in for a session, that's the first thing I tell them: please drink plenty of water, starting from now all the way up to the time of our session, because that's going to help you maximize anything and everything we do, whether it be a reading, a tuning, whether it be, anything, healing, anything. It's just going to maximize the whole effort on everyone's part.
Do you guys remember Logan's Run? Welcome to the 23rd century. The perfect world of total pleasure. Wow, everything is perfect. It's paradise. 1976 science fiction film set in 2274, where humanity lives in a sealed dome that serves as a hedonistic utopia, but enforces mandatory death for all citizens reaching 30. To maintain population equilibrium, citizens undergo a ritual called carousel, under the false pretense of being renewed or reincarnated, while fugitives known as runners attempt to escape to a mythical place called Sanctuary. Logan 5, a Sandman, an elite police officer who hunts runners, is tasked by the city computer to infiltrate and destroy the sanctuary. However, the computer secretly alters his life clock crystal to mark him as a runner, forcing him to flee alongside Jessica 6, a young woman wearing an Ankh symbol associated with the resistance. Ankh is life, right? Pursued by his former partner, Francis 7, Logan and Jessica escape the dome into the overgrown ruins of Washington, D.C., discovering that sanctuary is not a physical location, but a concept of hope. The film concludes with Logan and Jessica returning to the city to expose the truth about the carousel. Yeah, exactly. Their attempt to stop the ritual leads to the city computer overloading and self-destructing. Think about this. Again, mandatory execution at 30. Canada is on its way to that right now.
Canada is worse. They're doing things to children, and it's just horrible.
This is where they have to tell us what the ultimate agenda is, and this is their ultimate agenda. What's society like? It's hedonistic. I mean, it's everything that we see the elites doing, the elites doing, and how they operate. And yet, there's a termination notice when you're 30. It keeps you from gaining wisdom, keeps you from understanding what the system actually is. That's exactly, in some ways, what we're actually witnessing right now. Yep. Everything is in the movies. It's all been in there the whole time. This person's from Tahoe, and just talking about how they are spraying the U.S. Forest Service plans to spray 75,000 acres in the Lake Tahoe area with glyphosate, including campgrounds, trailheads, and ski areas, supposedly to accelerate wildfire recovery. The reality is they're killing trees, native shrubs, flowering plants, and humans, too. Glyphosate is so freaking toxic. And then you had 47, basically use national, defense or whatever to say that they have to make sure they have plenty of glyphosate. Glyphosate, in my mind, equals the big C. And it equals insanity. There's no way you could dress up this. You can't put enough lipstick on this pig.
No, it's pretty rough. They're making all of us and the animals and the inhabitants all antennas.
Yeah, so what they're doing is, again, it is exactly that. You can't have humans living really long, healthy lives, or they'll figure out how things are really going. Meanwhile, here we have a molar from a Neanderthal from Siberia that points to dental treatments being done 59,000 years ago. Literally, they were trying to remove caries from the tooth decay. 59,000 years ago. Neanderthals, they make them out like cavemen. Neanderthals were superior to Homo sapiens sapiens. Superior. They were thicker boned. They had a bigger brain. They were more adaptive to climate extremes. Why did they die out? Because they were not as controllable. That's the information that we've gotten.
They had too many abilities, and they knew how to use them.
And yes, glyphosate has been used in Roundup, and now they've switched to some other compound in Roundup, supposedly, but is every bit as bad, if not worse, if that's possible. This Sahara, there's maps that show the Sahara as teeming with life, lakes, rivers, streams, from 500 years ago. Here they found 260 monumental tombs, older than the pyramids, they say. Again, the pyramids are much older than what they tell us. Again, the history is just a story that's been given to us by the system. I think there's more than just this under the Sahara. There's like all the evidence that we could ever need to show that our world was really overrun by an invading force that has given us the system that we have today. It's literally been in place, I believe, since the Younger Dryas period and the Younger Dryas extinction event, which is marked back at about 12,700 years ago. somewhere in that range is what I believe to be literally an assault on Earth and what you would call Earthlings by a force from outside. And they've instilled, after taking over the planet and eradicating the population that they couldn't get to conform, they've kept people here to, again, work the planet for them, but they keep modifying humans. There's so many different types of humanoid species that have been on the planet. They keep trying to find one and modify into existence one that is perfectly malleable, totally controllable.
Well, they're getting there.
This is what they're working on. So, here we are. We're in the ascension. So we are awakening to what's going on. And it's not an easy thing to awaken to. So, again, these monumental tombs, very old, they're just the beginning. There's so much under that Sahara. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The Reichstadt structure is fascinating. Those old maps are just absolutely fascinating. We've had much higher levels of civilization on the planet than we have now. And this talks about a hierarchy in stone. They say it suggests emerging social inequality. Emerging social inequality. We find that with the dark matrix system coming in. When you look to ancient India, and we look to some of the archaeological sites over there, what do we see? We see people living together with no power structure. There is no kings, no queens, no dictators. They had some totally different system in place. And they had no weapon storehouses. They got along. They discussed their differences. They were living openly without fear of attack until those, again, that instilled this system came and wiped them out.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's so much hidden in our past. Researchers theorize that our brains are building the universe. Mind-bending new theories claim consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it actually creates and shapes it. That's yoga. I mean, they've been teaching that for thousands of years in yoga and then again the Santana Dharma. This is why I keep going back to the people of the Indus Valley and to the culture that was there. And pre-Aryan invasion period, what was there, I think that they have given us the most clear version of reality that we received from the benevolent ultra-terrestrials before those that we would call the Anunnaki of the Sumerians came and basically changed things and gave us the politics we know today, the legal system we know today, the whole concept of kingship coming from on high. Well, that was coming again from the Anunnaki, basically. They brought it with them, and they created certain blood lineages which they left in charge when they disappeared into the shadows. And again, that's, the kings and the queens and all those secret societies that still take instruction from beings that we would call ultra-terrestrials.
And thank you so much, El Karaki. We appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much for your support. And we hope you have a blessed day as well. This is it. It's all being exposed. It's not easy to accept, and it's one of those things a lot of people don't want to face the reality, because if we've thought the whole time that we are the top of the food chain and then discover, wait a minute, you mean we're not the top of the food chain, we're part of the food chain. Oh, that's not an easy thing to realize.
I wonder what some of these scientists would think. I mean, the ones who made these developments and discoveries, what would they think if you handed them a book on Sanatana Dharma and told them that this has been around for eons and eons and eons? I just find it hard to believe that they don't know. If they're that smart to come up with these theories, they had to have been reading some type of ancient text. I mean, they can't really think that they were the ones to discover this, because there is nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, Viru says there's not much wisdom left in India. It's a total horrible hellhole. I am Indian, trust me. You know, again, this system's everywhere now, and so the vestiges of what was is just basically in little pockets. People like you know, holding on to what was our past, which was a much better reality. There was equality and true freedoms, and we understood everything from the perspective as we are all cells in something much bigger. So we need to have respect for nature, we have to have respect for each other, and we need to cultivate compassion and, you know, camaraderie, not in a pseudo way like they give you with modern day communism, because again, that's just a top-down oligarchy. Again, it's just an illusion. But truly thinking about things as if we really respected our elders and tried to gain what we could from their knowledge and wisdom, and supported them as they grew older, and, you know, really worked to support each other. It's just simply, you know, putting out a helping hand and trying to truly be that which we see espoused in some Christian beliefs, you know, but we don't see enough actual doing. And that's the thing. There's been a lot of lip service on this world without any actual manifestation of positive change. But I think that's all changing now.
Well, I hope so. You know, the places where people could make the most change, that's where we get the most lip service. And that's right there, you know, in our own government. There's so many saying, well, this is wrong and that's wrong and we need to change this. And, you know, that's not fair for the people. Well, they're in a position to do something, but really all I've ever seen them do is just point out the obvious, and that's it.
So again, when you look at every single dot there being data centers, and what is this? Are these just places that they're gathering info about all of us? Or are these, let's just say, are these some sort of frequency centers? Could it be that these are actually putting out certain frequencies that might interact with certain technologies of a very, very small nature, nanu, that are just waiting for a certain signal to come out from Big Brother?
I don't know. It's a thought.
It is a thought. And so I'll leave you with that. Again, we want to thank you guys for your support. We couldn't do it without you guys. And Cindy's going to give us some dings, and we're going to put out the intention that all beings everywhere be happy and free, and that our own words, actions, and deeds will contribute to that happiness and freedom. Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. Om shanti shanti shanti. Shanti is peace. And again, we wish nothing but peace for everyone on this planet.
You get back what you put out. So let's just do exactly that and put out a lot of peace. Saying thank you to El Karaki, Oneness, running the gauntlet. You guys, thank you so much for helping us out with this video today. And you know the drill with the dings. Find a happy thought. We do want to send our prayers to our friend Carrie. He's in quite a struggle right now. He's having a lot of difficulty. So please have your mind and your prayers and your love and understanding, compassion sent toward him. And here we go. You all are so amazing. Thank you so much for your support, all the thumbs up, all the wonderful comments, and supporting each other. Source bless and namaste.
Much love and gratitude. Thank you guys so much. We'll try to get live tomorrow and catch you guys again. Source bless. Namaste.